If you think the DJI Osmo Pocket 3 is a good camera, it's not. Actually, it's better than one would think. Despite its small size, this camera gives us one of the best pro features that one would hope to get even in a more expensive camera, log shooting, specifically D-Log-M. You may not have heard of this, or maybe you have seen it in your shooting menu and didn't bother to use it. But I tell you, by the end of this video, you'll know how to use this feature to capture and edit footage like a pro and really get the most out of your camera. Now, of course, to do all this, you do need to turn this feature on. So as you turn on our Pocket 3, it should be by default on video mode. Then when you swipe over to the left, you should be able to see a shooting menu here. And on the top right, you want to be able to hit Pro to make sure that it's glowing yellow. And now, as you click color, it says normal. But if you click it again, it says HLG. And if you click that again, it should say D-Log-M, 10-bit. Then we can go ahead and lock in our white balance, or the WB right above it, and this will greatly influence on the look of our final video. Generally, in daylight, I shoot with a 5600 Kelvin. When I'm shooting indoors under tungsten light, I do bring it around like 2600 to 3500, and generally whatever looks most natural behind the camera screen, that's what I will turn it to. But if I'm outdoors and I'm in an area of fluorescent lights, I'll start bringing up my white balance to something like 6000 or anything higher than that to again make sure that things look pretty accurate. Now do note that when you do shoot in D-Log, your footage will look a little desaturated, and that's normal. And this will allow us to give us a more flexibility in the edit and really bring back all that contrast and bring back all the colors. So go ahead and shoot with those settings. Alright, now you're ready to shoot. Confirm your settings and just go. Since I got my footage, we can move right ahead to the editing part. I'm going to be editing on the M1 MacBook Pro 14-inch, and we'll be using DaVinci Resolve to color correct and color grade our footage. But of course, you can use any other software, whether it's Adobe Premiere or Final Cut Pro. We'll be using 3 different clips for us to color correct and color grade. Okay, so for our first example, we have here some clips of Zion National Park. Zion National Park. And we'll be using these color wheels over here. If you're not too familiar with the DaVinci Resolve software, pretty much I've already loaded in my clips here, cut them to where I wanted them. You can edit them down a little bit further with the inspector tool here, or even just cut them up some more. And now we're on the color tab over here on the bottom hand corner, and we'll be adjusting our first clip here to the left. For these first few clips, I'm just going to be using the color wheels, and I pretty much want to get my exposure to look right. So my lights and my darks, my whites, my shadows, all that good stuff. So to do that, I'm going to reference here the waveform in this bottom right hand corner, which you can select over here and choose waveform. And now I'm gonna just watch this and kind of wait for this data to go all the way down, touching 0 as close as I can. And I'm gonna take this left wheel here and just push it to the left. And now I should start to see it go down some more. Okay, good. Let's see if we push that down, almost touching. Don't want it to exactly crush that shadow. We could, but yeah, otherwise it'd be really bad. You lose detail. So just around there is good. Then on the extreme side, we can get the highlights, which will be the top portion. You can see that all up in here. I'm gonna push this to the right to bring it up. Again, we don't want that to clip. So just want to bring that high enough. Just right there is good. And normally I would like some contrast. So what I'm gonna do is further take the midtones and slide this thing to the left. It's a little difficult on this small 14-inch screen, but just until my liking, which is about there. Okay, cool. Now that I got my exposure down, I'm gonna go ahead and, since I'm on Mac, I'm going to hit Option S, and that's gonna add another node here. And this is kind of like a layer. Or you could simply hit right click on the first node and hit add and add serial. And now what we're gonna do is just add some color back. So we're gonna go ahead to this bottom portion and add saturation. There we go. Here around 80, 70%. Yeah, that looks pretty good. Scroll through that a little bit. like it. I dig it. Yep. Simple as that. And then we're gonna add another node, another serial node. And I wanna just make sure that our white balance looks pretty good. I'm gonna go over here and select the vector scope. And I kind of just want this middle white portion to just be brought down a little bit. So we're gonna go over here to the temp. And we're gonna bring it down a little bit. And you can see it shifting to the right. Now, since this is during the day, I do want the image to look warmer than it is darker. Bluer. So yeah, it kind of gives it that winter vibe. Whereas this really gives it the hot summer sun. But since it really wasn't like that, let's just move it over. I wanted to keep it white, but because it's more summer, I'm gonna move it more to the warmer side. And that looks perfectly fine for me. Okay, and that looks pretty good. So one of the advantages of having your footage in D-Log is just be able to manipulate all these things and just to really dial the look in and not have to break your image while you manipulate all these parameters if you didn't film in D-Log. Now what I'm gonna do is right click here and grab the still. We'll go over here, hit right click, and then apply grade. There we go. So now we should have a fairly consistent look across. There we go. And then same thing over here. Good, okay. And now we'll click this last tab here and just export it, call it whatever you want. I'm exporting it MP4, H.264, nothing too fancy. All as a single clip, and save it to where you want. I have a specific spot there for this particular video. Add to render queue and then hit render all. But we're gonna go ahead and move on to our second example. And over here, we're in Arizona in the Willow Park, and we're gonna go over here to our first clip. So similarly to the color wheels, we're going to use a different method this time, and this is gonna be in our curves. This way we can get a nice, smooth transition between our darks, our shadows, our whites, highlights, all that good stuff. I'm gonna make sure that we can reference our data here in the form of waveform. Okay, so we got a lot of our data right here in the middle. We just wanna go ahead and bring that down and bring that back up. So we have our curves here. Then we're gonna go to custom, select that. And we wanna take the left side of this curve, hit left click and hold it. You can see that we're bringing it down as close as we can. And now we'll go all the way up and let's make a new dot here. Ooh, it's very strong, very contrasty. Okay, make sure that's just right. Okay. You could try to push it all the way up to the white, but it just looks too crazy. But let's keep it like that. And we'll adjust here our bottom point. Okay, let's see what that looks like. All right, not too bad. Punchy for sure. You can just go like that. Maybe we'll lift it up a bit. This is our data, by the way. So when we get close to it, that's when we will really start to see some change. All right, now let's go ahead and add some saturation, and we'll do that by hitting Option S again. And we'll go back over here to our primary log wheels. And let's dial this up as well. Try to hit it around 75 as well, 80. Now I did film this in the car, so the colors will be a little bit different. Yeah, definitely a lot more blue and green than I would like to. So let's see how else we can change this up. My goal here is to kind of like get it as I saw it. So we'll add another serial node and we're gonna see if we can dial back on the temperature here. But before that, let's reference our vector scope. So I'm gonna guess this is the white portion here, and we're gonna move this over to the right. We can do that with our tint over here. So we can pull this over to the right. See, you pull it over too much, it's magenta. But if we just pull it over ever so slightly, we might just get a little bit more white. Now we want to bring this down a little bit more to the blue. And we push it to the left, and we got more of a whiter look. Let's see. Okay, not bad. Let me push it to the right a little bit more, just because it's like a warmer day. That's okay too, I dig that. One thing I don't like though is the color of the sky. It looks like Microsoft Paint just dabbing it with a paint bucket tool. So I'm gonna add another node. We have our first node, which is the exposure with our lights and darks. The second one being saturation, adding that color back in. The third one being white balance to make sure our whites look white, and we want to pull off whether we want our image to look a little warmer or cooler, as well as removing some of that green and bringing it towards magenta to balance things out. And now adding another node here with option S, I want to go over to the curves. And in the curves, I want to select here this second icon, which is hue versus hue. And you see this very sharp, I guess, cerulean teal right here. We can hit the green, cerulean, teal and blue. And we can just manipulate how this thing looks here, just dragging it up and down. I mean, it's really sharp. You can really see it here in the vector scope. But you know, we can change that to look at a little more realistic as far as what our blue sky looks like here. So bringing it down just like that, looks just right. Cool, 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 cool. Nice. All right, I'm gonna right click and grab that still because I think this is the final look that I enjoy. So we'll go ahead and click our second clip here, hold shift, click over here up to the third, right click, apply grade. All right, so this should have a similar look. This is also shot about the same time. It's a lot more brighter, but you know, that's okay. At least we have a starting place. So we're gonna go back to fix our exposure, and we're gonna go reference our waveform here again. You can see that the line here is really clipping, so we want to bring that down. Let's go back to our first node, right, while still having this applied. Let's go ahead and go to our curve here and just bring this down. Yep, just like that. Boom. Much better looking, right? Nice. There we go. There we go. All right, let's see what our third clip looks like. Ooh, very contrasty. Quite the opposite. So in the same way, it's gonna be our first node, exposure, because it's just so contrasty like that. Again, we got our waveform. As you look here, it's clipping. It's like you can see that intense white at the top. You can bring that down, just like so. And then we're clipping also here at the bottom. So we can go ahead and push this away from our data a little bit to the left. Maybe just let it creep there a little bit, just so. And I believe now we got a better balance of our colors. Ooh, a little too dark. So let's push back on it a little bit more. Maybe get a little bit more contrast in the middle, so we can left click here and bring this down. So maybe grab our highlights and push it up just a little as well. Okay, I'm happy with that. This is good. A little too bright now that I'm looking at it. Go back to the first node, bring this down a little bit. There you go, take the edge off. Okay, second clip. Okay, and third clip. Nice. Now let's go ahead and save that. All right, so for our last example, we have here a indoor scenario where my friend here is playing the piano. So this will be a little bit more difficult, but let's see how we can navigate through it. This time I want to start off with curves. So I want to go ahead and reference our waveform here to really see that, ooh, yeah, it's a dark scene. But let's just lift some of that and then get a good visual of our piano here, even just a little bit. I'm not worrying too much about this information clipping. That's referencing this screen right here, and that's to be expected. I'm totally fine with blowing that out. And now I want to grab the middle of this curve, this downslope here, and just bring it down a little bit. Okay, without losing all that detail. Next, I'm gonna go hit Option S so we can add another node here while going to the wheels and adding saturation around like 70, let's say 75. Yeah, don't go too crazy. You know, just add whatever looks just right for you. Maybe the yellow's a little too strong, but anyway, let's go modify our white balance. Option S again, and look at the the vector scope. Okay, it looks pretty center there, but let's see what it'll look like if I bring that down a little bit more. Okay, brings away some of that warmth from the light that I had coming from the left side. That's okay. And I want to add another serial node just to take away this blue screen here. I find it a little distracting. So I can do that by going to the curves. This next icon, hue versus hue. I'm gonna click the teal and the blue, and I'm just going to bring this down. That's fine. I also changed the color of the shirt, but that's fine. You know what? I'm going to also go to the next one here where this is hue versus saturation. Hit teal and bring that down as well, desaturate it. There we go. That's much nicer. Now we're gonna go a little bit extra with this last example because I want to add a grade. So how else can we add a grade? We're pretty much just going to introduce colors into different parts of our image, in the exposed parts of the image, as far as the shadows, the midtones, and the highlights. So again, I will add Option S, and so we don't get confused. In case you have to come back here, you can also rename these. No label, be like exposure, saturation, white balance, say the teal hue, and now this will be the color grade. I'm not a professional colorist myself, but you know, you can give yourself the license to play with the footage and see what looks best to you. I'm usually one who defaults to adding like a little more teal to our shadows. So when we go here to the log wheels, we're gonna go to shadows. This was originally dead center, and I'm just taking this, left clicking and bringing it down. And as you can see, the image is starting to look a lot more blue. To balance this out, one would also then go to the midtones and then push this circle more towards the top left to get that teal and orange look that people enjoy every now and then. And if you really want to go crazy, yes, you could also play with the highlights and, you know, choose the color that you think fits for the kind of video that you got. I'm just gonna push it towards the blue. And that's okay. Right click, grab still, and let's see if we can apply it to these other two. So select clip 2, hold shift, select clip 3, right click, and apply grade. Okay, let's see how that looks. Okay, I think it's too contrasty for me. So I'll go down back to the exposure here, hit my wheels, hit my curves, and then go to the parade, waveform, and select that first tab. So I'm gonna bring this back here, there we go. You got some detail back. Bring this down a little bit more, so we're not clipping as much, but anyway. There we go. Maybe it is a little too blue, but anyway. Nice. I really exposed this shot a lot better. The skin tones are a little crazy as far as the orange doesn't look as great. The danger to working with color grading is nailing your skin tones. Now, without making this tutorial too complicated, I'm going to click the teal hue here and hit Option S and add a new node, and we're gonna call this skin tone. And as we go over here to waveform and hit vector scope, hit the options or the settings here, you hit skin tone indicator, and generally whatever your orange or red here, our goal is to try to get this as close as we can to the skin tone without making our skin look like Oompa Loompas, or I guess Red Man. We can change this by going over to hue versus hue, taking this eyedropper tool or qualifier, hitting that, and then this black center dot, if you take this and move it up or down, you can see to the right our vector scope is moving with it, and it's changing the color of our skin. I want to bring this down. The image is falling apart a little bit. But anyway. Okay, I'm gonna go back to our color grade. Let's see if we can take some edge off of there. Gonna hit reset. Let's see if I can turn it some yellow. No, too strong, too strong. I'm gonna back off a little bit on the shadows here. That's just how the skin is just gonna look, because I do have an orange light coming from the left hand side. And we'll export that as well. So yeah, as you can tell, it's a lot to go through. It's a lot of experimenting just to see what kind of looks that you like if you don't have any inspirations beforehand, or if you're just trying to go ahead and just delve into getting the right look, what it looked like in camera, or at least how you saw it in person, and maybe just trying to add a little bit more pop to it, whether you're adding more contrast, you're adding more saturation, or you're just simply trying to change the different hues and colors. Take a deep breath. It may be overwhelming now, but I promise over time, just like anything, it gets easier. Here's the befores and afters of what we graded. Now hopefully you can see that our footage can really have more life and even a little more cinematic look to it. But even if your image looks cinematic, does it feel cinematic? Fortunately, I got a video over here showing you the easy movements that you can use with your DJI Osmo Pocket 3 to make things look a lot more professional.